Welcome to the Writer's Room. I'm going to do a series of videos about the first 10 pages. And as SimonSays Entertainment Director of Development, what I do is look at scripts and determine where they are in their development, if they're ready to be produced. And I'm going to talk about some of the problems that are common. I am also both an actor and a writer, playwright. My plays have been produced. And so I know what the challenge is, and being able to be an artist and face those challenges, but then also a producer who's looking at the business side of it and saying, this is what I need to get this story sellable. The first 10 to 15 pages are always the hardest. Why is that? It's because you're introducing all the major characters and all the major conflicts, and you have to get them in those first 15 pages. So I'm going to give you some tricks that ensure that some of that happens. All right? Within those first 10 to 15 pages, if we've not met every character that is going to be in this play or this screenplay, whatever story it is, you got to find a way for us to meet them. Can't get midway through and be meeting new characters. Doesn't work. Particularly in screenplays where you have smaller budgets. Those first 10 to 15 pages, I got to meet everybody who's a significant player, right? Who is your protagonist? And what is your protagonist's fatal flaw? What is the protagonist's problem? What is the challenge that this protagonist has to face and overcome in order for the plot to resolve itself, right? I need a hint of what that problem is, right? And then, the first couple of pages, by 15 pages, I need to know exactly what the problem is. Because the problem that the protagonist is trying to resolve is the action, the event of the script, right? Solving that problem becomes the job of the writer and all of the other characters interacting with the protagonist, right? The supporting characters challenge, question, get in the way of the protagonist and force the protagonist to take action to solve a problem. So all of the supporting characters are there to solve this protagonist's problem, or at least give us more information about it, right? Or to create a problem, all right, that continues to create action in the script. Now, action, now that we're talking about it, is another biggie that I come across all the time. Lots of people telling me things, putting it in stage directions or putting it in camera directions. Don't tell me the story. Show me the story. Which means some quick rules of thumb. Stay in the present. It's rich enough. If you're talking about events in the first 10 pages that happened off screen, you're not in the present because they're not impacting us right now. All action needs to be in the present, right? No reflections about what I used to be. Right into the story. Start with the action of the story. If the action, the conflict is real enough, we will jump on board. Promise, right? If you watch episodic television, it always ends with some huge event. She falls off the train blows up, right? Right? Or procedurals start with a big event. Plays as well. A big event is what we start with, or a big event to end Act 1, right? It's the hook, right? Start with the action of the play. Don't tell me what the protagonist is gonna do. Don't tell me what anybody's gonna do. What are they doing right now? Let them do it. We'll learn by them struggling to get something done, all right? So that's the first one. And some questions you need to ask yourself scene by scene. What is the event of this scene, right? What happens? And how is that related to the protagonist's problem? And what does it resolve, right? The final beat of each scene needs to leave us with a slight cliffhanger that will be picked up in following scenes. All right, that's great structure, right? Because if you provide a cliffhanger at the end of each scene, it keeps the action of the story going. So there needs to be one major event what does the protagonist learn, right? Meaning, which also means, what does the audience know by the end of this scene that we didn't know before? Okay? Those questions need to be asked. And what happens, right? If you know what the event is, and if you know what the problem is that the protagonist has to solve in this scene, then it all sort of works itself out. Because action will automatically happen in the scene because you've created this event, this challenge, that the protagonist has to resolve to get to the end of the scene, right? So those are the questions, scene by scene. And I see it time and time again. The first 10 pages, right? The first 10 pages tell me if this is going to work out. The first 10 to 15 pages of a play or a screenplay, you got to set up those major conflicts, and you must stay in the present, right? In identifying the protagonist, you can have other characters that have a journey too. But if you're going to weave those stories together, then those other protagonists, whatever their storyline, whatever their problem is, it must give us more information about the protagonist's journey, right? Or you must link the stories of those supporting characters into the main plot, right? Those supporting characters their stories need to either cause problems, right, that the protagonist or everybody involved with the protagonist's journey has to get over. The supporting characters can have a journey that mirrors the protagonist's journey. And at a certain point, they learn together and those stories merge, right? And again, I'm speaking about 90 pages. I'm speaking short and sweet, low budget, 90 pages in terms of films, right? A similar thing with plays. Single location, single timeline, right? Bouncing back and forth in time is always tricky. Why? Because whether it's a play or a screenplay, it's always going to cost money. More money. It also is disorienting if you're not, disorienting meaning it slows down the action of the script if it's not done really, really well. And I'll tell you, the present is always the richest place to be. It's the most exciting place. It keeps me in the story. It keeps my suspension of belief high. It makes me start rooting for the characters and caring about them and their humanity. Okay, I think I've filled your brain with a lot of things right now. So I'm going to stop talking. And I would like you to either email me your questions or post them in the blog. And I promise I'll get back to you. And I would love it if you send me your questions right away so that when I make the next Writer's Room video, I can then answer your question. How is that for service? All right, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.